Hey guys, good morning. The sun is shining, so I kind of have my window shade down a little bit, so sorry about the lighting. It just, it gets really hot when you're talking a lot, so I needed to kind of like cool myself down a bit. Got my apple juice. Oh, hey guys. So I'm just gonna wait for everyone to join. I'm sorry the dogs are going crazy. They like feed off each other. So, you know, when someone's at the front door or when they hear a sound, they just bark and bark and bark. So I apologize if you hear them in the background. So I have quite a few questions that were pre-submitted, so I'm gonna get through them like as much as possible, but you guys are always prioritized because you come live, so you guys can ask your questions at any time, and then if there's no questions coming in, I will go through the pre-submitted questions. I just ask you, if you've pre-submitted a question, don't ask it again during the live, or if you know you're gonna be live, like don't pre-submit questions just because it starts to get confusing. Amber says, I just have a few questions that were from the end of your live that couldn't get answered. Okay, yeah, ask them. Any tips for helping with geographic tongue? By geographic tongue, do you just mean like there's lots of grooves and your tongue's kind of inflamed? If that's the case, you gotta look to the gut. The mouth is the flower of the gut, and so if your mouth is not healthy, your tongue is specifically not healthy, your gut's definitely not healthy. Digestive tract is struggling. All right, so I have quite a few questions that came in. So the first question is, what supplements would you recommend for someone with hypo-Hashi? I don't recommend supplements blanketly. There's no specific one size fits all, and whenever somebody does that, you should run in the other direction. When it comes to Hashis or hypothyroidism, you first have got to look at your diet, your nutrition, your environment, your stressors in your life, your exercise, your sunlight exposure. I mean, everything. And supplements are something that are just that, supplemental to diet and lifestyle, and you only need to supplement what's not being met in your diet and lifestyle. So that's the point of supplements, and I can't just blanketly know what you're not getting in your diet and lifestyle. How do we know we become more insulin sensitive or metabolically flexible? Labs. You don't, metabolically flexible, I mean, you don't really want to burn free fatty acids. You will, when you really want your cells to burn glucose, and your muscles are specifically really good at burning free fatty acids, so you would see muscular tone, you would be lean. Pretty much think healthy, happy, hungry, horny. You have a good appetite, you have a lot of good energy, your moods are good, your cycles are good. You don't need to over exercise or diet to stay at a healthy weight. You have a good libido, your digestion works really, really well. You know that you don't have a bunch of issues, and that's how you know that you're insulin sensitive, and there's low amounts of inflammation in the body. Do you recommend to peel fruits and veggies? Does it make a huge difference? It just depends on the vegetable. Root vegetables should be peeled. They have saponins on the outside. Keep in mind, you guys always have to think of, I know we get our food from the grocery store, but we gotta remember that they grew in the ground, in the soil. So a root vegetable lives in the ground where a lot of bugs are going to live, right? So it has to have this kind of protective outer coating just to kind of protect it from the bugs. It's not as bad as an above ground vegetable that's exposed to the elements, but you want to peel your root vegetables, that's for sure. And then above ground vegetables, I mean, I usually peel my cucumbers. I don't really peel zucchini or anything like that, which are technically fruits. I don't peel red bell peppers. So you're just trying to peel things that you're not supposed to be eating, and that's going to mostly be the peel of a root vegetable. Hey Jess, I'd love to hear your thoughts on calories in versus calories out for weight loss and why that may not work for everyone. Calories in, calories out is just a really weird way to look at things because there's a million things that affect your metabolic rate, meaning how fast you burn that energy. And I hate to even use the word burn because stress burns calories too, right? Being in a high cortisol, high adrenaline state burns a lot of calories and can create a lot of heat. That doesn't mean it's good. And that's why we have to get through our heads that burning calories is not automatically a good thing. It's how we are doing it. What are the byproducts that are being created? Is it an inflammatory process, meaning that we're utilizing stress hormones to burn calories? So calories in, calories out is just a really not a great look. You definitely, or great way to look at it. You want to look at, yeah, I don't want to be consuming a ton of energy more than what I need. That doesn't make any sense. Your body's not going to be able to use it. It's probably going to push it into storage. But when you have good muscular tone, keep in mind the muscles have a high need for calories, high need for they will burn free fatty acids, and you have a high metabolic rate, meaning your cells are going through nutrients quite quickly and quite efficiently and creating a lot of healthy byproducts, then absolutely you're going to need more calories. And so this is why people who have healed their metabolism, work out really well in the right ways, strength train in the right ways, are taking care of themselves, lowering inflammation, have good digestive health, that kind of thing, they will see that they can tolerate and they can eat high amounts of calories and not gain weight because their body's utilizing them properly. And a body that needs healing needs excess energy. And sometimes that might look like weight gain, and that's okay. Weight gain is not automatically a bad thing. How do I put it? When you are trying to lose weight and heal at the same time, they're kind of counterintuitive. Your body, an unhealthy body in an imbalanced state does not want to lose weight that's being stored. That's safety. That's its insurance policy. And so calories in versus calories out is not a great way to look at things, just because there's so many different things that affect how we burn calories, and not all of them are necessarily good. Do you recommend, I saw something with red onion. Do you recommend eating bell peppers raw and red onion? I love it like that for a salad. I don't think it really matters, you guys. Stop asking people for permission to do things. As long as it doesn't sit wrong with you, it's probably fine. I got my gallbladder out 2 years ago. I was wondering if the removal can cause issues with ovulation. Could it also cause digestive issues when consuming things like dairy and gluten? Yeah, bile flow is necessary to create hormones, and bile flow is necessary to digest fats, which the body makes hormones out of. So yeah, gallbladder removal is, in my opinion, it's a horrible way to deal with gallbladder issues. When somebody is struggling with gallbladder issues, they need a lot of support and help. Estrogen dominance is usually a factor because estrogen is going to affect bile flow. There's usually gut issues going on. And so removing that vital organ that creates that good bile that gets toxins out of the body is usually going to make overall health worse long term. So really the only way, once a client or once somebody gets the gallbladder removed, you can absolutely still eat foods without a gallbladder, but you're not digesting them very well. And so I highly recommend asking your doctor and looking into ox bile. If I had gotten my gallbladder removed without realizing how it was going to affect my digestion, I would probably be on ox bile for the rest of my life. Hi, I was asking, I live in a little village in the mountains. My water comes from the snow. Do I still need to filter it? I think that's kind of very dependent. Where do you live? What is the snow exposed to anything on the way down? That kind of thing. But there is always, a chance for parasites and infections and things like that. But you kind of know the details more than I do. What recommendations do you have regarding iodine? I recommend that you don't just supplement it with it willy-nilly. It can raise TSH levels because TSH is how it actually gets into the cells. It can displace bromide and chlorine and things like that, and so it can really cause harsh detox reactions, and it's very decalcifying. So if you have low calcium, it's going to further lower your calcium levels. So overall, I think it shouldn't be supplemented blind in high amounts. It should always be done if you once you've tested your minerals. I went to my doctor yesterday and he said that TSH is normal and so all the thyroid hormones are fine. He said that I'm stupid and that I'm hypochondriac. I should stop thinking that something's wrong. Well, I would probably get a different doctor, because his opinion is you're stupid and your opinion is he's stupid, right? My mom called me losing it. Her doctor said her bad cholesterol was too high and to limit her saturated fats. What do you think? When bad cholesterol is high, it's always a liver issue, or sometimes it's a thyroid issue. So lowering your saturated fats is not going to help the fact that, the liver and the gallbladder are kind of stagnant and need to be focused on. How did you say you made the fudge? I kind of just follow like a regular fudge recipe, as long as it's gluten-free, that I find on the internet. Like, gonna be like sugar, butter, chocolate chips usually, and maybe like a splash of vanilla. Thank you so much for what you do. You give me hope again. I feel so good since eating metabolic foods. Oh, good. I know you like Pellegrino magnesium drink, but are there any magnesium supplements you recommend if we can't do the mix that day? Yeah, I mean, any magnesium glycinate supplement that's pretty pure, or magnesium malate is another good version. You guys, when you're looking at supplements, don't ever look at the front. Just turn around and look at the back. You're looking at the active ingredient, so how much of that magnesium is actually in there, and is it what it says it is? Because a lot of times a supplement will say magnesium malate on the front, and then you turn it around, it's like 20 milligrams of magnesium malate and 100 milligrams of magnesium citrate, which is going to just be like a laxative. So you really want to make sure that when you always turn the supplement bottle around and you're looking at, are you getting a lot of that active ingredients? How many capsules do you need to take to get that much? Because sometimes they'll say, yeah, this provides 500 milligrams of magnesium, but you have to take 10 pills. That's like, no, each pill provides 50 milligrams, so you have to really be an informed purchaser, and you're not going to find any of the information you need on the front, always the back. But magnesium malate and magnesium glycinate tend to be two really good not strains, but forms of magnesium. Are there certain workouts that work better for women with PCOS? Yes, so not excessive cardio and not a ton of like high intensity interval training. Just throw a high intensity interval training into your workouts. You should still be able to have a conversation and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. The minute that you're mouth breathing, like you're working out too hard. So you really want to make sure that you're breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. You're taking pretty deep breaths, and so that's usually going to look like strength training with a bit of high intensity intervals training thrown in. Hi Jess, what are your thoughts on working out on early pregnancy? Can that be a stressor, heavy weights? It really depends on what you were doing pre-pregnancy. If it was your normal routine, then you're fine. But if you find out that you're pregnant and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta work out now, like I gotta get strong, probably not a good idea. So it's really dependent on like your strength and your habits pre-pregnancy. Your body's not gonna see it as much of a stressor if it's you're doing the same thing. But if you're just adding it and all of a sudden that you're pregnant, then at that point it's like, okay. But you don't want to go too hard the first trimester ever to put too much stress on the body. But, just feel it out and listen to your body. What do you think of the Thorne thyroid support? I want to say it's a blend of like L-tyrosine, vitamin C, zinc, selenium, maybe iodine. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of the actual blend. I don't know. I can't remember what nutrients are in there. I know like a few people like it. Is it called thyrosin? Gosh, I don't know. Those are thyroid supportive nutrients, but again, like sometimes they really, really help and sometimes they don't. Friend just found out she was pregnant after trying for 7 years. She was 3 months into her first low-carb diet ever and is attributing the pregnancy to that. I know this can't necessarily be the case. Well, if you're in a super, let's just put it straight, like if you're in a super effed up place physically, and your insulin levels are all over the place, a lot of times people go from like standard American diet directly into a low-carb diet. Well, yeah, they're cutting things like gluten and bread and junk food, right? And so a lot of people are like, oh, it's because I went low carb. And I was like, no, because you stopped eating crap and you started actually focusing on what you're eating for the first time in a long time. So there's so many different factors. Keep in mind that low carb diets can absolutely lower insulin levels quickly, which can be having an effect on like ovulation and things like that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's good. Like you're not gaining insulin sensitivity, you're just lowering insulin in the body, which can have other, not so great effects long term. I was so tired last night, I took my Synthroid instead of my magnesium. Was it right to not take another Synthroid this morning? It was between 1 a.m. when I usually take Synthroid between 6 to 10. I think it just kind of depends. Just pay attention to how you feel today. And if you feel really, really exhausted, then you might not want to do that again, but it just kind of depends. Like there have been times where I forget to take my thyroid medication in the morning, and I take Nature Throid like periodically when I feel like I need it, and I just take it later on in the day if I feel tired. I write an email. Is there a waiting list to do a one-on-one with you? If yes, how can I get on this list? Just let my assistant know at support@jessicaashwellness.com that you're interested in working with me, and we'll inform you when my one-on-one consultations are available. The reason why I'm not taking clients right now, you guys, is because I'm completely revamping my packages, and I'm completely revamping my services. I'm getting an app for you guys so that you can actually log your food on an app. You can converse with me via the app. You can keep track of like your weight, your measurements, everything that you need to keep track of, your temps and pulses, how you feel in an app, so we can kind of like really keep track of your progress. So I'm revamping one-on-one services, and I know you guys are not wanting to wait, but if you wait, you're gonna see a lot more results from working with me. I'm just trying to make everything better right now, and I'm doing it as fast as I can, but I'm only, I can only do so much in a day. So I'm just kind of revamping the whole process of working one-on-one with me, and it's just gonna take a little time. But I'll probably be ready in like mid-November. Jess, can I use for castor oil something different than the flannel, or maybe can I wash the one that I used? You can use the same flannel up to 30 times. Just keep it in a bag and just keep resaturating it with castor oil. You don't have to clean it. You don't have to do anything. The only time you have to clean it is if it pulls anything gross, like black, out of your liver and gallbladder, like you actually physically see like growthiness on there, then I would just toss it and get a new one. But yeah, you can usually use your castor oil flannel like 30 times or so. Where can we find examples of good meals if we can't join Fully Nourished yet? I have a whole highlight that is labeled food that has, I would say like over 50 food ideas. Do you ever indulge on food with PUFAs ever? Have focused so hard on cutting these out, but every once in a while I'm craving a curry sauce that's soy-based or a good donut. LOL. Yeah, I don't really stress about it. Like, I don't even treat it as like a splurge. I just do it. Like, usually Friday nights, me and my boyfriend will just go out to dinner, and sometimes I normally feel like eating Five Guys. So I would say like 9 times out of 10 on Fridays, I'm eating Five Guys. And Five Guys fries are fried in peanut oil. I don't really care. I don't really treat it as a splurge. I just like eat a meal and move on. There are weeks when sometimes I'll get like 2 or 3 meals that I was exposed to polyunsaturated fats. Not so great. I just take extra vitamin E. Sometimes I'll take activated charcoal to just bind to whatever, crap they're putting on that food and move on. But yeah, of course I do. New follower, was diagnosed with PCOS. Doctor gave me birth control as a quick fix. Not sure where to start on tests or labs to get on the right track. Appreciate your help. Yeah, I think with that, before you, I know it can feel really scary and oh my gosh, I should just do everything that I'm being thrown at right away, but just take a step back and start to do a little bit of research. Say I'm going to spend 2 or 3 weeks just kind of nosing around, listening to my gut, trusting my gut, not making decisions out of fear and making decisions out of empowerment and being informed. Sorry, my dog wants in and out of my office all day long. All day. Literally all day long. All day long. And then I would recommend reading the book, The Period Repair Manual by Dr. Lara Bryden. I think it's there's good basics in there regarding your cycle. So you'll understand what birth control does a little more. You'll understand the historical reasons why it's prescribed, and you can kind of make your own decision that's informed on birth control. Just keep in mind that polycystic ovarian syndrome is a metabolic issue that's driven by stress, that's driven by blood sugar imbalances. So you always want to start with nutrition first. You always want to start eating protein, carb, and fat, balance your blood sugar. If you're interested in learning more, my program Fully Nourished kind of lays out the foundation of kind of supporting a healthy metabolism through food. I really teach you and empower you around food and lifestyle. I teach you the right types of exercise to do and that type of thing. But yeah, just start with the Period Repair Manual just so you understand your cycle, you understand what birth control does, and then start making one change at a time that you think needs to be made. But I would start there. And then, when it comes to testing, I really recommend a full thyroid panel. I recommend getting your estrogen tested, your testosterone tested, your progesterone tested. But I would highly recommend going through my highlights, watching all my highlight stories. I mean, people go through those over the course of a couple weeks, and they say that they've learned about their body more than they've ever learned before. So I hope that would be true with you, but I highly recommend going and learning about your cycle, learning about the fertility awareness method, which is all in my highlight stories. Have you had any FN clients with vitiligo, melasma, and seen improvements through diet changes? Vitiligo and melasma are things that are going to take years to reverse, because that is a high polyunsaturated fat diet mixed with excess estrogen and probably iron toxicity. That's called lipofuscin. Lipofuscin is when metals, specifically iron, react with polyunsaturated fats and get exposed to light and heat, and they oxidize. That's what you're seeing. You're actually seeing oxidation or lipofuscin. And so unfortunately, it takes a long time to displace polyunsaturated fats in your fat cells and, implement better fats, a better lifestyle. But that would make sense if you have a history of birth control, if you have a history of eating a high nut and seed diet, high amounts of plant fats, not a lot of animal foods, not a lot of saturated fats. I know a lot of people that have practiced vegan vegetarianism have it, those types of things. So you're just looking at all of possible exposure to polyunsaturated fats, and then also iron, fortified iron foods. I know you said DIM only helps with phase 1 detox. Someone told me that if you take calcium diglucarate with it, then it covers all phases. Just wondering if that's true. Yeah, calcium diglucarate does support phase 2 detox, but that's kind of a simplified way of looking at it in a sense. Okay, I'm taking something that's going to support phase 1 detox and something that's going to support phase 2 detox, but there's 20 other things needed for each phase to go down without a hitch. And B vitamins and vitamin E and vitamin C and selenium and zinc, so it's you can take things that push detox, but if your body's not ready to detox, I see this all of the time with so many people. They don't have the basic nutrients that they need to just stabilize their body and bring their body to balance. And so the body doesn't want to move things. The body doesn't want to move metals. The body doesn't want to move estrogen. The body doesn't want to move anything until you are at a more stable place to move these things. And so a lot of times the biggest mistake people make is they start to push detox with DIM and calcium diglucarate and a bunch of heavy metal detox supplements and all these things, and they end up making themselves worse, and they don't understand why. And I'm you didn't support the foundational things that you needed to actually have your body feel safe enough to move things that are not so great for it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of true in a sense, but not the whole picture true. Is that a good rule of thumb, charcoal after crappy meals? I'm asking because I've learned to just eat those things and not dwell on it, but I always feel bleh after. Yeah, I don't want you guys to dwell on the food. It's not like the activated charcoal is going to absorb all the calories. Oh, I'm not going to gain weight from it. A lot of people think that. It's just more I don't want to feel like crap for 2 days after I eat a meal. And so that's why I take the activated charcoal. It just helps me feel a little better. Can't find this past month the liquid chlorophyll. Can I use it in another form? And if you know, or any brand, that's good. I don't know what you mean other form. Maybe are you talking about maybe a powder? I'm not sure. I would just look for something that's high quality, or make sure it's organic. Haha, love your dog. Mine is the same. Yeah, my dog is crazy. He is so hard to deal with. How to fix a poor appetite. If you have a poor appetite, you want to always look at your stress levels. Are you super stressed out? Are you taking deep breaths, deep belly breaths, or are you holding tightness in your chest? Is your diaphragm really tight all the time? So just really tune into your body. Are you tense all over? Are you tight? Are you stressed? And if that's the case, then the first thing is just relax. Get out of a stressed out state. The second thing is do things that are going to increase appetite, like drinking juice, fructose in general, so raw honey. Those are all going to rev up the metabolism a little bit, and they should make you hungry. And then just focus on balancing blood sugar. If you don't have an appetite, you don't always have to force yourself to eat, but if you If you are going a long time without eating, then I would highly recommend like maybe force yourself to have some small meals throughout the day to see if you can get your appetite back. What are the signs that someone should probably be supplementing vitamin E? You feel like you have dull, dry skin, you feel super inflamed all the time, you are overweight. Keep in mind, guys, when we're overweight, our body's constantly tapping into fat cells. If we're increasing our metabolic rate, our body slowly wants to start pulling free fatty acids from those fat cells. If we've been eating junk food or we've been eating a standard American diet for any period of time, what's in those fat cells are PUFAs, polyunsaturated fats. Whether they're coming in your mouth or they're coming from your fat cells, they're coming out. And so we want to do our best to kind of block the negative effects, the inflammatory effects of those fats. And so that's why vitamin E comes in handy. So anyone that has more than, like, I would say, well, any weight to lose, if they're trying to lose weight, vitamin E all the way to just PUFA protect. And then anyone that has estrogen dominant symptoms or low progesterone symptoms, just because it really does support the detoxification of estrogen. So PMS, headaches, bloating, feeling gross around your cycle, specifically breast tenderness and breast soreness for sure. But yeah, pretty much anyone, I would say. Also, can you tell about reheating food, veggies and fruits? Is it safe, or is there some food that can't be reheated? Well, it just depends on how you're reheating them. If you're like frying things in the microwave over and over, I probably wouldn't do that, but there's nothing wrong with reheating foods, especially like we can start to obsess about details, and it's like, okay, are you going to eat your food cold? Like, okay, if you want to. But it's like, there's going to be times when we just need to reheat our damn food, and we got to just do it and not stress, like, is this so bad for our health? Like, maybe it's best to eat fresh food, but we can only do so much, you know? Okay, we got through a lot of questions. I'm going to go through some more. Okay, so I'm curious to know if your DIY red light experiment worked out. Yeah, it worked out fine. It's a great red light therapy device that gives me 660 nanometers of red light. Is there a vitamin or certain nutrition that increases hair growth? I wouldn't really, I'm not quick to throw that out there, because hair loss, you have to get to the root of the hair loss first. If the hair loss is due to inflammation, you gotta stop inflammation by eating better, getting more sunlight, exercising, sweating, that type of thing. If the hair loss is caused by hormonal imbalances, then we gotta get to the root of those. And there's gonna be specific supplements for that. If the hair loss is caused by thyroid issues, gotta get to the root of that. You know, so it's like, no, there's not really a supplement that's gonna fix hair loss, and you're gonna be really frustrated. My TPOs are still elevated. I feel I've done all to decrease, lower inflammation, diet detox. What else am I missing that could still be affecting me? It could be like, are you on a low sugar diet, low carb diet? Are you eating lots of cruciferous vegetables, root vegetables, nuts and seeds, or not root vegetables, sorry, cruciferous vegetables, raw greens, nuts and seeds? All those are pretty inflammatory. So a lot of people say like, oh, I'm eating so healthy. And I'm like, are you eating a bunch of rabbit food that your body can't digest very well? Like, no, that's not eating for your biology. That's not eating biologically appropriate. You're eating what, you know, health and wellness gurus are telling you to eat, and you're not actually eating what your body needs you to eat. Are you eating excessive amounts of animal protein? A lot of people go on dairy-free diets, paleo-style diets. They're only eating animal meats as their protein. They're not getting nose-to-tail style eating, lots of gelatin, lots of collagen, lots of bone broth, high-quality dairy products, pastured eggs, those types of things. So really, like, it could be a million things. It's just, for me, it's speculation at this point, but there could be a lot of reasons why antibodies are high. If you haven't got to the root of gut issues, if there's lots of bacterial overgrowth, if you have SIBO, if your liver's stagnant, that's the type of thing. You could be causing like inflammation in the body as well. If there's like glyphosate exposure, meaning you're being exposed to pesticides. What about EMFs? Are you next to a cell tower? Do you keep your Wi-Fi on at night? Keep your cell phone next to you on your bed, that type of thing. So you want to start to look like deeper and look into your environment and get into the details. What exactly is SAMe? SAMe is like a manufactured synthetic precursor to like L-tryptophan, I believe. I don't quote me on that because I think it is, and which ends up turning into serotonin. But yeah, a lot of people say it's like really helpful for mood and that type of thing. I'm not a big fan of it because you guys know I'm not a huge fan of like increasing serotonin. We don't want to like push serotonin higher than it needs to be. So yeah, I'm not a fan of SAMe. What was your red light experiment? My red light experiment was just making a red light therapy device that was not like $1 bajillion and seeing if it would help with like hair growth and just overall like anti-inflammatoriness and like healing and regeneration. And yeah, I built a red light therapy device for $45, and I have a story highlight dedicated to it. It's just labeled red light, and you guys can see the light bulb that I used at 660 nanometers. I think it cost $25 on Amazon. I got a clamp light from the hardware store, and that's all you need. Favorite vitamin E supplement? I'm sure you've said this somewhere before. Sorry. Don't be sorry. Unique E. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it in like a pump bottle or a capsule bottle. If you like to take oil straight, you get the pump bottle, but I would highly recommend the actual pills. Or you could do Mito Life PUFA Protect. Not all vitamin E is created equal. Some of it's synthetic, some of it's derived from soy, so you really want to make sure it's derived from sunflower if possible, and is high quality. The brand actually cares about their supplements and their derivatives. I know you can't know, but can you advise me on how much progesterone oil I can start? I brought the brand that you mentioned, Ona's. It says 1 drop is 5 milligrams. I would just pick a starting amount, like maybe 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams, see how you feel that day, and then move up. Usually a good range is going to be 50 to 100 milligrams, but don't take my word. Like, the reason I don't ever give recommendations or suggestions is because you guys always take my word for it. Like, oh, well, she said 50 milligrams, and even though I feel like absolute trash and I feel like I'm dying, I'm going to keep doing 50 milligrams. And I'm like, no, like the whole goal is you are in control of your own body and you are your own advocate. You make the decisions. And I know it's uncomfortable at first if you're not used to it. I've practiced this for 7-8 years. The only one that makes decisions about my body is me, and the only one that takes the fall for decisions I made. Of course I've made mistakes and I've done things where I'm like, wow, that did not work out too well, like that was not a good idea, but I didn't die, and you know, I'm still here to live and talk about it. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to decide, you know what, I'm going to start conservative and I'm going to start at 10 milligrams, and then I'm going to, you know, see how I feel. And you got to be paying attention to yourself. Are you feeling good? How's your mood? How's your sleep? How's your anxiety levels? Whatever it might be. What are the symptoms you're struggling with? If you're seeing no improvements, then you can try more or try less, that kind of thing. So I would really just start somewhere, and always make it a rule of thumb, you guys, to always start conservative with everything. Never, ever, ever jump into anything like a crazy person. I know we want it all and we want it right now, but that's never going to get us anywhere. If I have candida, do you recommend I take probiotics? I have kefir from raw dairy, eat a good amount of animal fats, fruits, meat, and carbs already. Anything else I should do? I wouldn't really stress about it. The body takes care of fungus if you've created a good environment. You give the body enough carbohydrates, you've increased your metabolic rate, your peristalsis, meaning like the time it takes to get through the digestive tract, your transit time is quick enough. You're not doing excessive amounts of foods that are just going to slow down digestion and kind of sit and rot there, like high fibrous foods. But yeah, I mean, sometimes people want to like tie in some antifungal killing herbs, and I think that's just kind of a personal preference. When people have yeast, a lot of times they have symptoms, so sometimes tying in like things like oregano and grapefruit seed extract really helps with symptoms, but I think it's a personal decision. Best method for teeth whitening? I just use hydrogen peroxide, and I actually have a story on how I take care of my teeth, but I use like food grade hydrogen peroxide like maybe once a week. I just brush with it. Can I have sauerkraut or cooked cabbage if I have Hashimoto's? I don't know, can you? Great points on the elevated TPOs, thank you. Going back to the point, don't ever ask someone on the internet what you can and cannot have. I say this all the time in my lives because I want to get through your guys' head that you are the only one that can make that decision. Everyone's going to say contradicting things. Your body is king there. Your body is the one that says what's up and what you're supposed to do. When it comes to Hashimoto's and thyroid issues, do we want to be eating anti-thyroid compounds, goitrogenic foods? Probably not. But that's going to include all cruciferous vegetables, not just cabbage. Do we need to avoid it like it's like the devil itself? Probably not, but I wouldn't make it a regular part of my diet. That's for sure. Where can I find raw milk and bone marrow that is grass-fed? Raw milk, you have to kind of look at your state where you live locally. Some states it's illegal, and in some places it's not readily accessible. You have to hit up your local farmer. I believe there's a website called like findmymilk.com or something like that, and you can look for high quality local milk. Bone marrow, you can get bones on US Wellness Meats, or I believe Thrive Market sells bones. I'm not sure about that one, but I know US Wellness Meats does sell bones, and there are other, like Belcampo Meats sells bones, like online retailers if you can't get them at your local health food store. I know this is probably wishful thinking, but do you have any healthy snacking ideas to replace chips, pretzels? I still eat chips and pretzels. I just eat high quality ones. So potato chips fried in coconut oil, sweet potato chips fried in coconut oil. Jackson's Honest is a good brand. What's the other one? I think there's like a one called Boulder Canyon as well. Like Siete Foods does like the more like tortilla type chips, grain free. And then when it comes to like pretzels, I usually just like get some like gluten-free pretzels. Oh my gosh, I got these like pretzels I saw at the health food store. I was like, oh, these pretzels look like they're new. I'm just gonna try them. They said like cauliflower pretzels. I looked at the ingredients, was like cassava, and there was like cauliflower powder, and I was like, okay, like whatever. And I just tried them, and I was like, oh, I get the taste in my mouth right now, and it makes me want to literally barf. Like cauliflower, ugh, picture like the taste of raw cauliflower put into a pretzel. It was such an abomination, I swear. Flackers are pretty good. Okay, guys, keep in mind that flaxseed is not necessarily your friend, that's for sure. So don't overdo it on the flaxseed. Flax is so anti-inflammatory because it's immunosuppressive, and we don't want flax oils that oxidize in heat and light getting into our body too often. Again, like not something to worry about, but not something I would be snacking on all day, every day. I had all the symptoms of my period coming: heavy cramping. I took aspirin and it disappeared. Now just spotting and feeling temps super high. Yeah, I would just kind of keep an eye on it. Maybe you're just kind of like spotting or having some PMS cramping. But yeah, that is weird. I won't lie. Thanks. I started with some drops and saw that past 2 nights. I haven't slept good and had to pee 2 times. I just don't know if that with sleep it means having to try a little more. Yeah, I would try both. If your sleep gets worse, obviously, then you know, okay, maybe it is the progesterone that's causing my poor sleep. I've just been diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I just started Nature Thyroid 32 milligrams. How long will it take for symptoms to subside and feel better? Well, it just depends. A lot of people don't see improvement in symptoms because they're not dealing with the issue. Hypothyroidism isn't caused just by a nature thyroid deficiency. You have to always ask yourself, why is my body not having enough thyroid hormones? And it could be a lot of reasons. Am I exposed to lots of heavy metals, toxins? Like, what's my lifestyle like? How's my nutrition? Do I balance my blood sugar, or have I been intermittent fasting for 18 hours, every single day? The biggest problem with hypothyroidism is going to be imbalanced blood sugar. People are not eating often enough. They're not eating the right types of foods. They're eating like little bunny rabbits, and they think that their body can run off of kale alone. And that's a big problem. So I highly recommend the book, Hypothyroidism, The Hidden Illness by Dr. Broda Barnes. You can get it on Amazon, and it'll be very enlightening for you. Is sciatica pain around the time of period, back of pelvis, uterus, common during time of menstruation? It's pretty common. I used to have it pretty bad years ago, and I now know that it's really probably, well, this is what I speculate, is it's due to inflammation around the whole area. So prostaglandins are pretty inflammatory. It inflames the uterus. Like, you can see, like, when you are on your period, like, your uterus is kind of inflamed a little, like you're kind of more bloated than normal, like your uterus kind of protrudes. And I sometimes think that too much inflammation can actually push on the nerves in our lower back and cause that sciatica pain. And our digestive tract, like our intestines, can also become pretty inflamed if we have too much inflammation and too many prostaglandins. So absolutely, it can cause like a sciatica or like nerve numbness on the legs. Jess, is tapioca the same as arrowroot? Yes, well, I believe so. Tapioca starch, arrowroot starch, yeah, they are the same thing. Sometimes they're processed a little differently, but I do believe they are the same thing. What is the best treatment for oily skin and hair? Niacinamide can sometimes help, but it really has to do with like high prolactin levels, low progesterone levels. A lot of times it's due to excess testosterone. So it's really about getting blood sugar balance, getting hormones balance, getting stress low. You know, the same spiel that I'm always going to tell you guys. Nutrition, balance that blood sugar, get those anti-inflammatory foods in, do protein, carb, and fat. Make sure you're getting plenty of protein from animal foods. Stop eating tons of beans and legumes and grains and nuts and seeds, foods that your body does not like to digest, and raw greens and cruciferous vegetables. Eat roots and fruits for your carbohydrates, fruit juices. Fructose is amazing for your liver and your metabolism, and saturated fats all the way. And I know that can take some time, but it really is so important to get the nutrition packed first. And then you want to make sure you're exercising, you're not over-exercising. You know, you don't want to be running a marathon or riding the elliptical for 50 minutes a day. You want to be strength training, building muscle, because muscle uses free fatty acids. I can't stress it enough. The more muscle you have on your body, the better your metabolism works and the less you have to worry about. But you don't want to overdo it with exercise. You want to make sure you're sleeping. You want to make sure you're getting good sunlight and lowering your stress, doing things you enjoy. Stop working at a job that you hate, those types of things. Have you ever heard of doing an HCl challenge for low gut acid? Is it helpful? Yeah, I mean, I use HCl challenges sometimes with clients, but it really depends. If someone has H. pylori, that's a good way to burn a hole in your stomach pretty fast. So if you don't know if you have H. pylori, I would be careful with taking high amounts of hydrochloric acid. But yeah, an HCl challenge is pretty like not painless, but pretty good idea. There's not a lot of harm you can do unless you had H. pylori and burned an ulcer. Yeah, the HCl challenge is good, but I honestly just would recommend more like taking lower doses of HCl with protein-rich meals, like 2 or 3 capsules tops, depending on how like the dosages. Just because it's like taking 10 capsules of HCl for days on end, it can get kind of annoying. Could vitamin C supplementation cause dizziness? Thanks for all the help. Any supplementation can cause any issue because everybody's so different. The best way to know is to stop the supplement for a couple of days and see if the dizziness subsides. But I can't think of a reason off the top of my head why vitamin C could do that, but it's always a possibility. Estrogen 202, progesterone 14, testosterone 36. Harder to concentrate, apathy. Could bioprogesterone help? Like I've always said, you guys, the only way to know is to try it. That's all you can do. I don't know. I don't know if bioidentical progesterone could help. It could. It absolutely has the possibility to do that, but I don't know. And so neither do you, neither does anybody. And so it's that's up to you to decide, do you want to experiment with it or try it? But it's, it could be gut issues. If you have difficult concentrating, how's your blood sugar? Is it balanced? Are you eating every 3 to 4 hours? Protein, carb, and fat. Are you eating well? Are you getting enough sleep? How are your stress levels? What's your environment like? Are you in a toxic relationship, or do you have toxic friendships? Are you working in a mold-ridden environment? Are you exposed to a lot of fluorescent lighting? Do you get out in the sunlight a lot? There's so many things that could cause a difficulty to concentrate. And it might not be hormonal. So I don't know. That would be speculation. Tips on winter eczema popping up so bad on my hands. Yeah, I would definitely think about doing maybe getting a reptile light, like a UVB light for low level vitamin D production and just light exposure if you don't get enough light in the winter time, or making a point to get out in the sunlight. But yeah, it could be a lot of different things. If you're not getting sunlight exposure, that would be the first thing I would think of. Okay, it's probably a lack of sunlight exposure, but it could be other things. So that would be the first thing that I go to, though. I don't know if this was answered, but I joined the chat late. Did you take thyroid medication in the beginning, or did you diet straight into healing naturally? I still periodically take nature thyroid, like a natural desiccated thyroid. I don't treat it as like a medication. It's just a support to the body. But I don't recommend people leaning on medication because it doesn't work. If you just lean on medication, which is what I did for years, I didn't know all I know now when I like first got sick. That's how I know what I know, you guys. Like, you guys act like I like knew everything that I know now when I got diagnosed. Hell no. I've made so many mistakes that I'm trying to save you guys from, and that's why I am where I'm at. If I would have known everything I know now, oh gosh, my health would be incredible, and I'm still doing pretty good, but not as good as I would be if I've been doing what I'm doing now for 8 years. So yeah, I jumped right into medication. I thought meds were going to fix everything. And I was very, very sorely disappointed when I realized that medicating without changing anything else makes things worse, almost always. Do you maybe know what causes my body hair, not facial, to grow faster some months than others? When does it grow faster? If it grows faster in the winter, there's your answer. Low sunlight, your body is stressed out, thinks it's winter time. So we gotta really make sure the body understands that it's a time of plenty. It's summer, quote unquote. A lot of people are eating high nuts and seed diets, low fruit diets. That's the first thing that translates to the body, winter. A lot of people are not getting enough sunlight exposure, not getting enough exposure out in nature, winter. A lot of people are being exposed to lots of EMFs and things like that, which is making your cells uptake a lot of calcium and leak magnesium, and that slows everything down. So if your hair is growing faster in the wintertime, I would definitely look to sunlight exposure. Also, thank you for all of your knowledge. You've completely challenged my beliefs coming from being vegan, because making these changes is helping me in amazing ways. I'm so happy. I know it can be really scary. I really experimented with a lot of like ethical veganism when I first started my health journey, and it has this initial feeling of feeling really good, and then like you switch from like real good to real awful in 5.2 seconds. And so I totally am completely understanding of where you're coming from. I took a home food sensitivity test, brand Everlywell, and was curious if you knew it's reputable. Egg whites was high reactivity, which I know is true, and also chicken, which is weird. Well, do you eat a lot of chicken? Do you eat a lot of just chicken that's fed corn and soy? You're probably reacting to that and not the actual chicken meat itself. I hate food sensitivity tests, you guys, honestly. I think they're absolutely bunk. They're a waste of money, because your body tells you what you're reacting to. There are like so many different markers of food sensitivities. There's IgG and IgA, and then there's like the MRT. And so it's just like there's so many different responses to food, and at the end of the day, why is your immune system reacting to all these proteins? And even better question, why are all these proteins in your blood? And then the third question we need to ask is, when did our body create that antibody? Was that yesterday, or was that when I was 2 years old did I create that antibody against that food? One time, I reacted to that thing one time, and now I have that antibody. Do you understand what I'm saying? So they have a lot of room for error, and people treat them like they're the Bible, and I just think it causes so many issues. I don't like food sensitivity tests. That's my long story of saying I think they're stupid and they should be thrown out. No, actually my hair on legs grows so much more in the summer. Now perhaps it's so slow. Oh, well, if your hair is growing fast, like hair on your legs, or, hair where your hair is supposed to normally grow. Like, we have to keep in mind, you guys, I know women, we're, thought that, we're supposed to be these, hairless creatures, and we're supposed to have, no hair anywhere, but, keep in mind, women have hair on their legs, men have hair on their legs. Women have hair on their arms, men have hair on their arms. There are reasons for this. There is a purpose to body hair. Keep in mind, there was a time when you didn't live in a warm, cozy home with a bed and all, those modern pleasures. You were out in the environment, you were out in the elements, and your body had to protect you. Hair protected you from bugs because it warned you there was a bug approaching. Before that bug bit you, you felt tickled, and so you were able to push that bug away. So your hair has a purpose, and you have to start looking at it in relationship to the seasons. Why would your leg hair grow more in the summertime? Well, there's more bugs in the summer, and so therefore bugs are going to crawl up your legs, and so it helps you feel those bugs. Same thing with like head hair, or for men, like chest hair. So if you notice, like women, we're not really supposed to grow a lot of hair in our chest because that wouldn't be as exposed to the elements as, say, a man's chest would be. So that was just like, a little tangent, but pretty much saying, like, always ask yourself, my body was meant to interact with my environment. And even though our modern environment is not reflective of what we were living 1,000 years ago, it still doesn't mean that our body has caught up to that yet. And so growing hair, I know hair is kind of like a modern inconvenience, like, oh gosh, I'm not as baby smooth as I always am, but there's a reason why it's happening. And just ask your body and kind of use your brain a little bit and think, I wonder why I'm growing more hair during this time. Would there be a purpose to that kind of question? How can someone know what type of folate is best to use? I just always say use methylfolate, just so if you don't know if you're MTHFR or not, you don't know how good of a methylator you are, so I think methylfolate is just a good option. Normal fasting glucose levels, but high fasting insulin, what does that mean? That insulin is high. Maybe the cells aren't responding to insulin properly. High insulin is not the problem, you guys. It's why are we not responding to insulin well? The body should only have to secrete tiny amounts of insulin, and our cells should be so insulin sensitive that we're responding to insulin and uptaking glucose pretty well. So a lot of times when we have higher insulin, it's showing that our body is having to pump out more insulin, and so our cells are less sensitive, and we need to ask ourselves why. Is it inflammation? Is it vitamin deficiencies? Is it mineral deficiencies? Is it magnesium deficiency? Is it lots of stress? Do we have imbalanced blood sugar? Are we being exposed to a lot of toxins? All of those questions are relevant. Is it true that a vegan diet is not for everyone? This is my second attempt and my face is covered in awful extreme acne that is painful. Last time, as soon as I went back to normal eating, it cleared up. Vegan diets are not for anyone. They are biologically inappropriate, and they make me angry that people promote them and do them. They are very dangerous for women, and I hate them. I understand that people do them for philosophical reasons, but the vegan diet's not for anyone. And at one point or another, physiology will outweigh your philosophy, and your body will start to scream at you. My egg sensitivity seems to pop up at the start of 2018, and now when I eat them, I get so bloated and have the worst smelling, painful gas later in the evening. Tips on direction to figure out why. What types of eggs are you eating? Are they cage-free, organic, or are they pastured? That's the first question to ask yourself. What are those chickens eating? Are they eating GMO soy, GMO corn? You could just be reacting to that. Egg whites are rich in albumin, so albumin is like an inflammatory protein. So your body is gonna, or the chicken's body will make albumin based on the proteins that it's getting in its diet. And if it's only getting corn and soy protein, you're gonna react to the albumin. So I would look into getting like farm-raised egg, pastured eggs. And also, another question would be, do you have a history of eating just egg whites alone? A lot of people that do like bodybuilder style eating and like eat egg whites from a carton, even if they don't do that anymore, but they did it in the past, a lot of times they created an egg white sensitivity. And so sometimes the basic fix is just to slowly implement them over time, make sure you're getting the highest quality eggs and doing a higher ratio of egg yolks to egg whites. So for example, sometimes with clients, I'll do like 3 egg yolks, or 2 egg yolks and then 1 whole egg, and we'll see if that works. Also, what are you cooking your eggs in? That's another thing. Are you cooking them in a Teflon pan? That's gonna be a problem. So there's like so many factors, and so many times people are blaming the food, and I'm like, let's dig a little deeper and let's look at the whole situation. But yeah, I mean, egg white sensitivity is pretty common because the albumin is inflammatory, but 9 times out of 10 it's because the eggs are poor quality. Why does period blood smell so bad sometimes? If it smells bad, it's definitely showing that your body's moving some junk. Keep in mind, period is a detox. It's very depleting. It's hard work to have the uterus continually cramp and shed the lining. And if the lining is stinky, keep in mind, if our insides are stinky, we're smelling them on the outside, that's a sign that there's something going on. Things are disturbed inside. Sometimes it could just be due to vaginal imbalance, like we have, bad bacteria or yeast overgrowth or things like that. But keep in mind, period blood is the way that we detox, and it helps our body shed iron and other toxins, and so absolutely it can smell bad. And the people that drink their period blood or smear it on their face, I'm just like, oh my God, like, please don't come for me. But man, I would never do that. My eyelids are swollen lately. Could this be from an allergy? It could absolutely be from an allergy, or a million other reasons. Like, are you rubbing your eyes while you sleep? But yeah, it sounds like an allergy. Speaking of cookware, what pans do you recommend? I use Extrema, like a ceramic. They're like the least toxic pans I could find. My dad had his blood checked and was low in protein. He has diabetes. What does that mean? He eats so much protein though. Is he digesting his protein well? A lot of diabetics don't digest their food very well. 6 months pregnant. Woo! Dreading postpartum hair loss after PCOS hair loss. Help. Postpartum hair loss is something that you really can't do too much about. Sometimes people will supplement progesterone afterwards. Some people say encapsulating their placenta really helps. Make sure that you work out the actual logistics of getting your placenta. A lot of times the hospital will fight you on that if you're having a birth in a hospital. But yeah, the placenta can help because it does have a lot of progesterone. Sometimes keep in mind birth is a pretty stressful event, and so that's why sometimes we'll lose our hair afterwards, but sometimes it's just the fluctuation of hormones post-pregnancy, and there's not a lot that we can do about it. So and we just kind of have to roll with it. Period this month was more painful and heavy. Could this be coffee enemas, which is new? Absolutely, it could be. Coffee enemas pull a lot of iron. If you are low in magnesium, then keep in mind that coffee enemas can flush some minerals. That doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that people that are really depleted in things like magnesium and sodium and potassium, they can sometimes see that their symptoms get worse. But then it also just sometimes can move estrogen. So that could just be a sign that estrogen is moving. So it could be coffee enemas or it could be something else. It's hard to know. Just starting on this journey, do I want to do any blood testing for hormones and thyroid first? Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of different blood tests. I think a full thyroid panel is helpful. I really like a Dutch test, honestly, for hormones, just because I find that blood tests are kind of very inconsistent depending on the time that you test them. But yeah, you want to get estrogen tested, progesterone tested, testosterone tested, depending on what you're going through. Prolactin should be tested. Cortisol is helpful, adrenaline, those types of hormones. But really it just depends. Blood tests are going to just really depend on what the person is going through. Can you please save this live after you're done with it like you did the last one? Yeah, absolutely. These go up on YouTube too. It just takes me a little while. Sorry. Flaxseed and zinc supplements help me with hirsutism. Is it okay to keep taking them? That's kind of up to you. I'm not a huge fan of flax seeds for a lot of reasons. But if you find that they help, then that's kind of a decision that you need to make. Period with only big clots, really dark brown blood, only 2-day period, PCOS here, what could be wrong? A lot could be wrong. Again, very speculation at this point. Estrogen levels could be very elevated in the tissues. It could be a copper toxicity issue. It could be high cortisol, high adrenaline, high stress, blood sugar's not balanced. The liver's, stagnant. So it could be a lot of different things. If I had big clots like that, I would first make sure I got checked out and everything was okay, especially if they're bigger than a golf ball, or bigger than a quarter, really. If clots are bigger than a quarter, they should be checked out. And then I would take vitamin E. I would probably do castor oil packs, coffee enemas, but the biggest thing is just blood sugar balance. Hi Jessica, any thoughts of why I often feel so full after food, but when I take HCl it burns? I often feel like the food stays too long in my stomach and I often burp on the food. It sounds like H. pylori, and when you supplement hydrochloric acid with H. pylori, it's not a good combo. CBD oil and PCOS, what do you think? Neutral on it. I don't really think it's like a magic cure-all like everyone says it is. Resource to find someone like you to help me locally, or do you have online clients? Your girl needs help. I only take online clients. I only do clients virtually, so I can work with you anywhere you're at. I'm taking new clients mid-November, so if you just hit up my assistant at support@jessicaashwellness.com, just tell her you're interested in being notified when I'm opening up new clients, and I'll happily take you on. Okay guys, so live's cutting me off right now, so I'm gonna just end this and then I'll go live again and finish answering questions. So see you in a second.